So it's great to be with you, and I'm here to talk about the American Jobs Plan, but to talk about it in the context of what's happening right here in this local. And I actually visited in Milwaukee, I guess well over a year ago, a local 494, IBEW, that is doing similar work. But the work that is happening here is the work of Haley. It is the work of Kelly, who I was with earlier. There you are, Kelly. It is of investing in the skill and the talent and the ambition of our neighbors, of our friends, of people we meet who walk through the door, who want to develop the skills that are going to be a part of building up our economy and, like Joe Biden says, building back better. And so thinking about it in that context, I'll say that the American Jobs Plan is about infrastructure. Yes, it's about roads and bridges, it's about childcare, it's about a number of things, but it's about also understanding that if we're going to build back better, America has to invest in the skills development of our workforce. And to do that, where we're going to get the greatest return on our investment, let's invest in IBEW, let's invest in the building trades, let's invest in those apprenticeship programs that for as long as we can remember have been some of the best in passing on the skills that are necessary to do the jobs that will build us back up. And I'll tell you, when I think about this issue of job training and skills development, one of the things that I think we all know is that our country really has fallen behind in terms of our ability to be competitive in a global market, and in particular on the issue of investing in our workforce and investing in the skills development of our workforce. In fact, I've seen numbers that tell me that we're looking at something like we invest 1/5 of what other countries, leading countries, economically highly developed countries, we are investing as little as 1/5 of what other countries are investing in their workforce. And so when I think about it in a number of ways. Not only in terms of what it means to develop a workforce, to take on the jobs, and then to ensure that they are good jobs. And what do you mean by that, good jobs? Well, I mean a job that allows you to earn enough to be able to keep a roof over your head and food on the table, and also maybe take a vacation once a year. A good job defined based on, I think, our collective belief that in America, no one should have to work more than one job to be able to perform those basic functions, which is to take care of your family. A good job where you're safe on the job and you receive pay and benefits that are aligned with the value of the work you do. A good job where when you go to work, everyone respects the dignity of that work. A good job. And so to invest in the workforce so that we can have and say that we will support good jobs, it also means, I think, having a really honest, frank conversation about how we've been talking about how we develop the skills and what's necessary to get a good job. And by that, I mean this. You know, I think that we have in some ways created this hierarchy about what we decide is a valuable education, where we have said, well, higher education, that's a very valuable education. And I'd like to challenge that point. I think that instead of talking about higher education, especially where we are now as a country, where we are because of technology, where we are because of the future of work, we should talk about it in the context of education after high school. Here's why. Almost any job that we need to be filled will require some education after high school. That's just a reality. And so let's then agree to that and say we're going to create then a variety of options for an individual to get education after high school. And that option will be, maybe it's a technical college, maybe it's an apprenticeship program, maybe it's a 4-year college. But agreeing that we have to invest, if we are to invest in our future and the future of our workforce, in education after high school. And that's part of what is happening here. And also understanding that education after high school should recognize that for a lot of folks, some of the best good jobs don't necessarily require that you're going to walk across the stage with a diploma, but it does require that you'll have the skills to get that certificate to do that important work. And so that's why I'm here today. I'm here to hold up and to highlight the kind of work that's happening right here at IBW around what we need to do to invest in America's workforce. In the American Jobs Program, we have $100 billion going to workforce development programs. So $100 billion is being invested in exactly what IBEW is doing here. The skills development to let people take on the jobs that are going to be about building back up broadband. By the way, we're also investing $100 billion in broadband. Earlier today, I was with Maggie Hassan at the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, where we're looking at the folks who traditionally, the farmers who created that co-op to fill the work and the jobs that needed to be done to electrify rural America. They're now doing the work of laying the broadband that is necessary for families to be able to be productive, just like they needed electricity. Now everybody needs broadband, and let's always remember rural America and make sure we're putting the resources there as well. But the American Jobs Plan is about saying we are going to invest in America's future. And I'll tell you guys, Maggie and Jean knows this, and all of us know this, any member of Congress. You know, we get information, some of it classified, some of it, you read it in the paper, about how, a question about whether we are keeping or losing our competitive edge as a nation. And we need to pay attention to that. And we have to pay attention to it, yes, in the context of national security, but let's look at it also just in the context of what I like to call American aspiration. The very nature of who we are is we know how to aspire, to see things that can be regardless of what has been. And in our greatest moments, we have then invested in that vision, where we agree we are not going to be incremental in our approach. We're not going to say, oh yeah, we'll take it slow, one day at a time. No, we say, let's be big. And when we set the bar high, the very nature of American aspiration is such that we always jump for it, and we do it. We said we were going to go to the moon, and then we planted a flag there. That's who we are. So the American Jobs Plan, you know, some people will say, oh, you know, that's a really ambitious plan. That's a lot. Well, sometimes it takes a lot of courage, a lot of vision, a lot of faith in the American people. Yeah, that's a lot to do the things that reflect who we are and have been as a nation in our greatest moments. And so that's what the American Jobs Plan is about. And it is about, yes, roads and bridges and thinking about what families and working people need to get to work. But it's also about an investment in our future in terms of what we need to do to actually be competitive, to create jobs and rise to this moment in the history of our country. And so that's where we are, and it's very exciting. You know, we've come off of, and we're still in it, but we see a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of all that this pandemic has wrought in terms of the loss of life and jobs and normalcy. And this, I believe, is one of those things, this push to invest in America's future, that is going to give people a great sense of hope about what is possible and to remind people about what is possible. Again, when we set the bar high because we know we are capable of reaching it. And so I'm so happy to be here with you. I'm going to be talking about you guys everywhere I go and talking about this work. I think it is very important to note that IBEW 490 graduated the first woman electrician in the state of New Hampshire. I think it is important to look at folks like Haley and Kelly and also say we're going to take note of the fact that during the pandemic, over 2 million people, 2 million women people became unemployed, and we have to be conscious of that. Let's take note of the fact that these apprenticeship programs are reaching out to and saying, let's bring more women in, because still only, I think I'm told something like only 6% of the workforce in the building trades are women workers, but yet they were showing me there's a thing called the pulley, the tugger, the tugger. That is some modern equipment that now allows you to tug these heavy wires to be able to do all the work we need to do to build what we need to build. And we want to make sure that we are, like IBEW right here, committed to making sure that the workforce is an equal representation of who we are. And I'll close with just a little bit of trivia. Did anybody know, do y'all know that hard hacks are actually unisex? How about that? So that makes the point, right, Annie Custer? That makes the point. So let's approach the work of building back up better, of building back up our workforce in a way that we are optimistic and excited and ambitious about what we are capable of achieving. I think this is a very exciting time. It is not going to be easy, and all of our friends know that. Chris knows it, Annie knows it, Jean knows it. It's going to be a process in Washington, D.C., of reminding our colleagues who work in Washington, D.C., of the importance of this kind of investment, that, by the way, the people who will benefit are people everywhere. It's going to be about laying broadband for rural America, understanding that our children need access to broadband to learn. Before the pandemic, maybe we thought it's important. Now we know it is a necessity. That our small businesses need access to broadband to be able to do their business. Our small businesses employ half of America's workforce and are an essential part of our economy. They need broadband. Let's look at our seniors, who we should take care of, and understand that if they don't have broadband, they don't have access to telemedicine. These are some of the things we're going to accomplish with the American Rescue Plan. We're going to focus on putting the money in the jobs that are necessary to get the job done. We're going to put the money in the places like IBEW that are going to train the workforce. And we're going to remind our friends in Washington, D.C., that the people who will benefit from this work, when they're trying to drive to work over potholes, they're not thinking about whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. They're thinking about the fact that if they have to keep driving over those potholes, then they're going to be out of pocket probably at least a $400 unexpected expense to fix or replace those tires. All of the people who need the jobs and will benefit from the jobs, it's not partisan. It's not even bipartisan, it's nonpartisan. So I'm back in New Hampshire to thank you all for the work you do. I think New Hampshire, in a very special way, really does do the work that is about what is practical, what is right, what makes sense. And that's why I wanted to come back here and see you all. So thank you very much. Thank you.